Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Um, and I wanted to actually do part two of the my testimony of the 11, now essentially 12 years of God's faithfulness and provision with my testimony. Um, Next, I wanted to just want to start off just by apologizing for not having part two created soon after part one came out. Um, that is totally my fault. It's been a lot of learning, a lot of battling um, self doubt. Complacency, laziness, um, that have really delayed this testimony video to be basically almost a year and a half later. And for those of you waiting for part two, I do apologize sincerely. So, where I left off, to kind of give you some timing, in part one was I was working for this small business that was owned by a Swedish man and a Vietnamese woman. They were married. Um, Basically, I left off that I was giving them like 2 weeks, and they were telling me um, that they're basically selling the business or they're closing down the business. They would have had to let go of me within a few weeks or a few months. So it was just God's provision, and it was they're stating that it was perfect timing for me to be transitioning. So that leads me to in times of timeline, we're now looking at October of 2010. So um, during this time period from October 2010 to I would say April of 2015, I was working for a call center. I was still in South Florida, um, and I was working as technical support for this cloud technology business. I'm going to leave the business names just out of it. It's not important. Just kind of want to give you kind of a synopsis of the type of work that I was doing. Um, and I saw how even in those, I would say, 4.5 years, hopefully I'm doing the math right, from October 2010 to about uh, um, May of 2015, so it's not a full 5 years. If it's more than that, then great, but I'll just stick to 4.5 years for now. Um, Essentially, that was a technology that I knew little to nothing about. When I say little to nothing, um, there was this great mentality with not just myself, but with so many others during that time when we were just starting to come out of, we were like either in the middle or just starting to come out of the financial bubble bursting in like 2008 with the whole financial crisis with the lending and housing bubble. So those of you that have been in your 20s or 30s during that time, you understand, or older, you well understand that time. So I was working with essentially uh, peers of mine that were in the same level, same pay, that were working in the IT industry for like 20, 30 years, being let go, having to take some of them a 60% pay cut because they have a family and bills to pay. That was just kind of like the time period at that time. Um, and there was also another mentality that was basically fake it until you make it. everybody just put their head down, kept quiet, and just we did our best. Hoping not to get found out that we really don't know most of this technology and then getting fired and all that stuff. And so that was kind of like the camaraderie that was happening during that time at this call center. Um, I I grew a lot with knowledge of this product and actually really enjoyed learning about the product and the service and really helping people. It wasn't cold calling; it was basically you call in for support for this product, and we would help you with um, the essentially, you would call in, and I'll be the person on the other end of the line to try to help you troubleshoot and walk you through a setup of the service and everything. So, in those 4.5 years, there's a lot of hardships, not just with the learning curve of the products that I had to learn about and support, but I just had a lot of issues and struggles to deal with during that time. I moved a couple of times. I think I moved about twice during that time period. Um, I've made some lasting relationships from that job that I still have. Others I've had to cut off, and others have kept at a distance. So, but in regards to provision, even during that 4.5 years there, um, I was promoted a couple of times, um, where I was promoted to teams that I honestly did not believe I had the confidence or the knowledge skill to be part of it. But I was invited to these teams, and there were small teams within our group of people. Um, I think there was like 80 to 100 people total that was hired for the support group that I was part of. And these smaller groups were probably like 10 to 12 people total that did really specialized work. And so from there, I moved from one specialized team, and then a year later, I moved to another specialized team. And then I eventually went to what would be considered a tier two support internal team that we would work with, essentially the company that we were contracted to help support. And there's a lot of times where I'm staring at these support cases and I'm like, I don't know, like I have no clue. And part of me is like, I don't know why I'm even on this team. And with these moves, a lot of time came with a slight bump in pay. So I think I was promoted or laterally promoted probably 2 or 3 times in those 4.5 years and like within the company. And I learned so much in those 4.5 years that I end up helping others like new hires and things like that to help them with. They had questions, and it's like, oh yeah, I've been through that question 10 times. Here's the answer, or here's the path. So in, I would say, February or March of 2015, it was probably December or January, we started hearing about this one other company that was hiring essentially our best people. when I say the best people, these were people that were way smarter than I am. They were almost like computers, where if you asked them almost any question within a day, they knew how to get to the answer. And to me, I was just like, how did you even get to that mentality or that troubleshooting thing, or how did you even get to this? And and then it started to get to the point where they started needing to have more people, essentially hiring for essentially the same product, the same service that we were doing, just a slight difference on it, maybe a little bit more personalized. And I remember it got to a point where I was like, huh, like maybe I should apply, but again, I didn't know, because they're saying like, yeah, they're paying them way more. They're basically paying the people what they're worth. And I'll be honest, we were not paid what we were worth for the type of support that we were doing. That's not prideful. That's just truth. When you have people that are 2 or 3 levels above you that have been in business for decades, and they say those things, you have to you essentially you have to believe it. And it actually was one of my really good friends that was on a different team but worked for the same company, that really encouraged me to say, you know what, you need to apply, and you need to stop looking at your failures and your mistakes and your past sins to keep you from trying better, or from trying to apply for a job that, you know, this person knew I would be really good at or succeed in. So, so when that happened, then there was notice that this company had to freeze hiring new people because it had to work out some contract issues. And so I was like, okay, it was kind of like a big wet blanket on this dream, or this kind of igniting fire of like, ooh, you know. But a couple of weeks go by, and one of my really good friends, that's a brother in Christ, that really has shown me the love of Christ, the joy of Christ, the faith of Christ. And you know, he spoke to me privately, and he's like, you know, I applied for that position, and you know, I got the position, but the Lord has told me to let the job go because of he was going to be part of this new ministry that his church was doing with either the youth or young adults, and this position needed you to move to one of 2 states. So you needed to move out of South Florida. And so he was obedient, and he rejected the offer because of what the Lord told him. And but he came to me and says, like, the Lord brought up like you to come to you to say, like, hey, I put your name out there, like my name. And I was just like, wow, like here's this Christian that's really being obedient and loves the Lord and really believes in this ministry, and he's given up a job that basically pays you more than double of what you're being paid now. And so I went ahead and applied and spoke to the recruiter, and she's like, you know, really like you, really great. Let me go ahead and set up this technical interview. So that thing that technical interview happened like 2 weeks later, And I'm nervous as can be because I'm thinking this technical interview is going to be 30 minutes, 60 minutes of just the hardest questions I've ever thought of. So it finally happens. I believe it was like on a Tuesday at 11 or 11:30 a.m. And I was in my car, took my lunch during that time, and just kind of just sweating like cold sweat. I was just really nervous. So I get my call. They asked me, I think it was like 3 or 4 technical questions. They asked me if I had any questions. And within 10 minutes, my interview was done. And I was thinking, wait, that was it? And I was thinking, I'm like, oh no, I really hope a short interview does not mean that it was like a big no. So, finish off my day. At that time, I was living at my brother's place. And so I remember it was about 10:30 at night, and I'm about to, you know, start charging my phone, turn over, go to sleep, and just get ready for the next day. And I put my charger on my phone, like it just turns on the saying that's charged, that it's charging, and then the screen goes off, and most of you know how that works. Then what happens is, like, within like a couple seconds, I see the room get a little bit brighter, and that usually means that I get some notification or email, whatever. I'm not thinking much of it. I'm thinking one of my friends texted me, or I got some email from whatever thing that I'm subscribed to. And it's an email from the company stating, congratulations, we'd love to have you on, you're hired, here's your pay rate, and we'll see you in Charlotte in 3 weeks. Can I say that I was not tired any longer? I was not sleepy. I had to read this email like, oh wow, I couldn't believe I got the job. I couldn't believe the pay rate. I couldn't believe, oh wait, I have to move my whole life in 3 weeks to a completely different state, to a city I've never been to, lived in, to a place where I don't know anybody. So, then goes me giving my 2 weeks. This was in April, April of 2015. I give my 2 weeks, and I'm preparing, to tell people that I know that Josh, the guy that is scared of change, Josh, the guy that they like. It's almost like the yearbook voted to most likely never to leave his comfort zone, his safety net of Florida, where all of his friends and life is. They basically mentally voted me as never to take those chances and risks, is now about to leave them in just a few short weeks to a state that's about 18 hours away from where I was, or about 14 hours. So I feel like I'm going to go ahead and make a part 3. I promise that part 3 will come out shortly after. I just don't want to make this too long. I really believe, if you see my videos, the little things, the little ties, the little moving parts really give the Lord, I believe, a lot of glory, because you start to see the little things, and you start to see how the Lord has been shifting you little by little. And one thing that the Lord is reminding me now, that those 4.5 years of not being paid what we should be paid, and dealing with the emotional and the physical things I've dealt with in those 4.5 years, the hardships in those 4.5 years, the growth I've had to do. Because of those 4.5 years of hardship and growth and risk that I had to do, that with this new job that I'm about to embark into, I already had all of the skill set. I literally, all I had to do was say yes, and I just basically am just shifting my life from good to better. And again, it was, and like you see the theme here, my friend came to me, the Lord bringing my face, my name to his mind when he was obedient to the Lord, led me to this. So, as much as there was times where I can complain and say like how terrible of a company it is, or management, or all this stuff that so many people had to deal with, the same things I did, led me to this promotion in finances, in responsibility, but I had to do one of the scariest things in my life, and that was risk. To risk going to somewhere. At the time, I only had an 18-month contract, but I'll tell you how even then the Lord provided for this in my next video. So hope you stay tuned. I'll try to put a link in the description below on where to find part 3 once it comes out. I'm going to link this video to my part 1 video, in case anybody asks, where's part 2? Again, it's here, finally done. There's going to be a part 3 that I'm hoping to wrap up this testimony of now 12 years of faithfulness of the Lord. Love you guys, and hope to see you on the next one. Bye.